they can file to frustrate the process and to get their clients there. I know he said he doesn't want to engage the embassy and the consular services under any circumstance, but he's still a citizen of the Republic. He's waived his right for consular representation. Would you still be there on the 20th to see what happens?
Well, my information is that on the 20th, he may not be in court himself. It might be done virtual because the FBI don't want him to be moved about too much. Now, it will be in front of an immigration judge, and if the immigration judge has no basis to keep him here longer, he'll be on the next flight to Ghana. That's what I know.
And explain that. In the cases that you've become accustomed to in the last 1 year, once the judge says you don't have a case, what then happens? What chain of events kicks in immediately?
Some of the detainees who we've come into contact with had no document. They were undocumented. So we had to try and prove that they were Ghanaians before they would make that determination to fly them out. So
don't have a case. What then happens? What chain of events kicks in immediately?
Some of the detainees who we've come into contact with had no document. They were undocumented. So we had to try and prove that they were Ghanaians before they would make that determination to fly them out. So then sometimes they go to court and we're not able to finish that matter because we cannot prove where they are coming from. But in this particular special case, they have 3 of his passports, and all of them show clearly that he's a Ghanaian.
They have 3. So, they have 3 passports of Ofori Atta.
3 passports. Yeah, but they're all like. I believe he has what is it? The new type. The
biometric type.
Chip embedded.
The chip embedded.
Yeah, they said 3 passports, and each one had the same details. So they have no reason to believe that he had another nationality.
I mean, were all the 3 passports valid, or these are the passports that had expired at various times?
Well, that was not told to me, but they said 3 passports. And none of them was any other country but Ghana's passport. So I take it that matter is settled. He's a Ghanaian. Okay, so there won't be a problem before the immigration judge to determine his nationality. Now, if there's no basis to keep him here longer because his visa is out of status, he doesn't have a visa to remain in this country, that is the easiest way to take him back to his country.
Okay. Do you also know if he holds the citizenship of any other country apart from Ghana?
I don't know. Well, initially there was like a suspicion, but there's no evidence so far. As far as ICE is concerned, they haven't had any evidence that he has some other passport, also has some other details other than what is in his passports that they've seen.
Do you have any information on the extradition request? And I believe you said at the beginning that this your office may have been activated in the process of making the request. Do you have any details from the U.S. government on that part of the Ofori Atta's problems?
No, we just were asked by Ghana government.
UPM Express strong. It is tough. Pepsodent cavity fighter, toothpaste, Syntex tanks also. Ghana, let's talk water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. It's
January, very early hours of the morning, when I got a call I think I actually got a call from a friend. I wasn't sure, so I called the Attorney General, Mr. Ayine, Dr. Ayine, and he confirmed that the FBI had been in touch with him, that they picked up former minister and one other, and we talked a little bit, and he was always in the picture, when they It wasn't, the ICE did the picking up, but the FBI were also involved. If you recall, we had I'm not sure whether you know that one, but we had an extradition request from the government of Ghana, which we passed on to the Department of Justice. This was on the 29th of December. And I believe that acting on the request, they moved in on our brother Ken.
So that is a very important clarity. First, that the FBI was involved, and second, that based on your briefing, this particular arrest may have something to do with what he's wanted for in Ghana and the extradition.
I suspect so. The ICE did the arrest, but a few hours ago, I was also informed the FBI were involved. And of course, that sort of corroborated with what the Attorney General told me, that the FBI had informed him that they had picked him up.
Okay.
So
were you
I
also,
suspect.
Yeah, you suspect. You suspect that.
I suspect it's a combination of these two factors. ICE normally would pick you for immigration issues.
Okay.
But then, of course, when the FBI comes in, then there must be some criminality or Interpol police request. So the red alert comes in there. So the combination of the two of them, convinces me that Ghana government had requested for this man to be brought in to help us, if you like, unravel some issues that have been brought against him as a former minister.
Were you also briefed about the revocation of his valid visa?
No, Attorney General mentioned that to me. The extent of my involvement at this stage was when he had been picked up. I discussed it with the consular officers of my embassy, and we decided to make a request to make sure that he was being treated properly as the protocols, international protocols. And so we requested, and they agreed in principle to allow us to come and visit. But just before we set out, the ICE people came again and said the detainee had refused to meet with us without his lawyers. That was the initial response from the detention center. And they were going to go back to him and probably request that his lawyers appear so we can come and verify for ourselves that he's being treated fairly and not being denied, for instance, his medication and all that. But we waited for a while. After about a few hours, they came back to us to say the detainee, being the ex-minister, had refused now to see us under any circumstance. So that was the end of the road for me and the embassy. So
the consular officers didn't even manage to get to the detention facility. This was all a phone conversation with yourselves and the ICE.
No, the ICE came here. The representative came to my office. And they had indicated initially in the phone conversation that they had cleared the way for us to go. So I got myself ready with my consular officer. And just before we set off, the consular officer walks into my office and says, the ICE people are here. And I said, are we leaving? They said, no. They said, there's a problem. So I invited them to my office. And they said this to me, that the detainee is unwilling to have us visit him without his lawyers. And therefore, they asked me to hold on until they're able to sort out the lawyer's presence, with him. After about 2-3 hours, they came back and said he was adamant he wasn't going to now, under no circumstance did he want to see us.
How did you react to that?
Well, a bit of a disappointment, because I know Ken personally. He may not be my friend, but I know him personally. And nobody had visited him at the time the ICE were discussing this with me. And I found, as being a Ghanaian and being our responsibility, so to speak, in a host country, I felt that if we had had the opportunity to at least hear about if he had some concerns, for us to probably try and assist in that respect. So shutting the door in our face and not wanting to see us under no circumstance was a bit unfortunate.
When they hear gun.
Have you had any further information about the conditions of his detention?
Yes, the ICE people confirmed that he was all right. Initially, they had medical people to determine whether he was fit to be held in a detention center, and they were convinced and were sure that he was okay. He was on medication, but he wasn't seeing any doctor at the time. And he had his medication, so he could be put in the detention center.
So in other words, since he was arrested, the ICE itself had examined him to determine whether he was medically fit to be in detention.
Well, they had caused for him to be, assessed by the medical personnel, not themselves. Because I've been to one of those detention centers before. They have very, very fully manned medical center for the detainees. So they just, one thing I like about the ICE's approach is that they don't want people to put stories on them. So they were very welcoming and saying that come and see for yourself, so you can be a witness whether we have done anything, towards the detainee. And so I respected what they had said to me, that he had been assessed and was given the all green, to be held in that detention center. If he had any serious medical conditions, maybe they would have referred him into a medical facility outside the detention center.
Do you know if Ken Ofori Atta was in the US at the time of his arrest with his family? Because we know the building. If you see the screen there, at least Manasseh has given us a bit more detail about where he was arrested and where he was staying. I'm pretty sure you would have that information too. Do you know any other details around who he was with, where he was staying, and what may have happened on that particular day?
The ICE gave me the information that he was picked up from his home.
Okay.
They were very clear about that one. They did not have any doubts about it, that we took him from his home.
Do you know if he was staying alone or he was with family?
I wouldn't know that. They didn't tell me that one.
Okay. This obviously is not something you are alien to. I mean, we've seen the numbers. I think there are almost 200 Ghanaians who may also currently be facing challenges such as this. Is this different from what you're used to? Does the Ken Ofori Atta, former finance minister, his status and profile, has it changed anything for you in terms of what you know happens in these matters? Or this is very normal from what you become used to?
Well, they view Ken Ofori Atta as a high-profile case. That they have made it clear to me.
Okay. Because
he was an ex-finance minister, and even though there was an extradition, they knew, dealing with the Attorney General in Ghana, that this is a high-profile personality. And his visa issues, I can't go into it because I didn't know, but I know one thing, that if your visa expires, normally they give you 6 months visa when you enter the US with a 5-year B1, B2 visa. So they will grant you 6 months, and people normally travel out and come back in. My little information I had earlier on was that he traveled to the UK and came back into the US. As to what happened with his visa, I cannot talk too much about, except that I was told that by November 29th or thereabouts, his visa was no longer valid. And so it meant he was here illegally. his status was he did not have a visa to be in this country. But also hearing from other people, they were making attempts to, if you like, extend his stay or vary the visa to make him remain here until further notice. But I don't know where that request has reached. But before the ICE move in, they are certain that you don't have a visa in this country.
Yeah.
That's when they move in.
Mr. Smith, please stay with me because Janelle Oklu is a U.S. immigration lawyer, also joins us. There's a few things you've said are fascinating. I want to put to her to get some clarity about, but also get some legal education on the back of what we're learning tonight. And Janelle, thanks for joining us from the U.S. I believe this is something you're very familiar with as far as the ICE detention of foreigners are concerned. Have you been involved in cases such as this and represented individuals who have been arrested in such manner?
Okay. First of all, let me say thank you so much for having me on your program this evening. I have been a U.S. immigration lawyer for over 20 years now, and I can speak to what is typically done for detained cases, deportation cases. But if I can say clearly, as His Excellency the Ambassador has stated, Mr. Ofori Atta's case is clearly not a typical one. I know you mentioned.
Explain that. What makes it a non-typical case?
Oh, sure. It's the fact that he's a high-profile personality, a former minister in the Ghanaian government. I heard the statistic you gave about how many Ghanaians in detention, and you yourself, when you were talking about his legal team that he has hired to defend him. I mean, here, as we say in the U.S., he has really lawyered up. Yeah. Okay, he is really lawyered up. When you see the lawyers that he's hired, former American AG, that is an indication of somebody who he's not going easily. So I was thinking about that when you mentioned the statistic about 99% of the people who go into detention end up deported. Trust me, less than 0.whatever% have a former American AG as their lawyer. So he's definitely not your typical case.
And this is something that Ambassador Victor Smith said that I want to pick your thoughts on.
Sure.
He discloses that FBI was somehow involved in the ICE arrest. What do you read into that? I mean, what can you tell us about the fact that FBI was involved? Does it change anything?
It does. To me, it's an indication that this isn't simply about a visa overstay.
Okay.
Right? If it was just a visa overstay, this visa revocation overstay, I dealt with a number of cases with, say, international students, maybe who they had their student visa revoked. That sort of thing. But no, I feel that the fact that the FBI was involved is an indication of what was said previously, that this had to do with the extradition request.
Okay.
And that is why the FBI is involved.
And what also do you make of our Attorney General's disclosure that his visa was revoked? He says the FBI confirmed to him, he says, an authority, and I have no basis to doubt him because the Attorney General.
Do you speak English or French?
Your valid visa is revoked by the United States.
Okay. Prior to the current administration, prior to the current U.S. administration, that was incredibly uncommon. It rarely ever happened. Typically, the visa revocation only happened when you were back in your home country, okay, or you had specifically committed a crime in the U.S., that sort of thing. That's when these type of visa revocations happen. However, with the current administration here in the U.S., we have seen that happening. We have seen people having their visas revoked while they're here in the United States. I gave the example of international students. So people, for example, who are here on F1 student visas, if the government found that, some of their online activity was something that they find objectionable, then the U.S. State Department may revoke their visas. Same thing with people who are here on valid work visas. Okay, so all of that to say, in this basically the new administration we have here in the U.S., that actually has been happening. So I would say someone who is here in the United States on say B1, B2, they're seeking medical treatment. Typically, they would be able to apply to extend their stay depending on how the treatment is going, what the physicians say, the surgeons say. However, there's an exception, of course, if you have an individual who, his home country is seeking to extradite him for investigation or further prosecution.
And there's something I found interesting, and then this comes back to the FBI's involvement here. You suggested that if the FBI is involved, then it's not just a case of overstaying your visa. It may be, as the ambassador suggests, it relates to the extradition. But the extradition path is, correct me if I'm wrong, legally very distinct from the immigration and possible deportation path. And so if the FBI was involved and it's an extradition request, why would the FBI get the ICE involved and, let's assume this, based on what we know so far, revoke his valid visa so that it becomes an immigration matter? I mean, can you square that circle for me?
Okay, sure. I can say that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Okay.
This might be a way to basically for them to be able to tackle it from various angles. Meaning, yes, ICE deals with immigration and customs enforcement, immigration. However, the ICE, they cooperate with local police, state police, and essentially the FBI in many ways is like a national law enforcement for the United States. So when you have something where you're dealing with a foreign country's government, it would certainly be conducted through the FBI. So all of that to say that it could be that they're tackling the issue from multiple respects. Like one, this idea of visa revoked, visa overstay, but then at the same time responding to a foreign government.
Okay. So this is just possibly could be a strategy. We have the extradition, but you also then needs to go through the immigration hearings. And the extradition hearing is also separate, could actually still happen.
Yes. So if he's not caught in one, he could be caught in the other, essentially. Sure.
Go on, please go on.
No, and I'll say this, and actually, if you don't mind bringing up your previous screen that you had up when you had his applied for adjustment of status and the visa.
Let's show that on our screen for Janelle there to see.
For your viewers.
Yes.
Yeah, and then perhaps if I can explain that, because the thing is, for visa immigration alone, okay, for visa immigration alone, his chances of actually being removed from the